guys, this is the week we've all been working towards. This is the day we've all been working towards. The CPL final, when this all started back in the spring and 28 games later and Canadian Championship games and all the fun stuff in between. This is the day we have been working towards. The CPL final. It's Cavalry, it's Forge. It is a great rematch. It is a great story. Both these teams have incredible history, either on their own, against each other. 6 p.m. Eastern, Tim Hortons Field. You can watch it live right here on One Soccer. Tickets are selling fast. We're expecting an incredible crowd, an incredible atmosphere. In fact, the Canadian Premier League also putting out a press release the other day, gentlemen, talking about attendance overall in the CPL this season going up 19%. This is really exciting stuff, but I want you guys to take out your little crystal balls. Woo-hoo, in the spirit of Halloween, take out your crystal balls. And I want you, like, who or what? This is what I want you to decide, Wheels. I'll start with you. Who or what?
Oh, God. Not much in here.
You're going first. We'll decide the CPL final between Forge and Cavalry.
I was reaching deep. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's empty. I got nothing. If I look into the future, it's something that happened the last time these two teams played 2 weeks ago. Big players need to step up. Who's going to be the big dog that's going to bark the loudest in this one? Kyle Becker, arguably the best player on the field 2 weeks ago in that 2-1 victory at Atco Field for Forge. Becker's going to play a huge role. There's all kinds of experience and familiar names and faces who've stepped up in the past in playoff football as well. Hujabrapor, Chouanier's back in the fold as well. So there's a number of characters on Forge that are familiar faces, and we're used to stepping up. Now let's see when it comes to Cavalry, because consistency took them to a regular season title, and it's great to be consistent and having depth and all that good stuff over the course of a 28-game schedule, and that's why they were the best team in the Canadian Premier League. But in these what-offs, it takes a different sort of mentality. So can Bevan, can Camargo, can Akio, can Trafford, can Klomp, can these players step up? Amusi, can they step up like some of them did last week against Pacific? And I think that's the biggest question, going away from home, a place where it's been miserable for Cavalry to go. Came out with a couple draws this year, but their last 5 trips to Tim Hortons Field, they haven't won a game. So it's going to take those characters and someone or multiple people amongst that group to step up and show they have a little bit of bark for this final.
So what I'm hearing from Wheels is teamwork makes the dream work. What are you feeling here, Jordo, if you had to look at a who or what will decide this final?
Well, Wheels and I, people don't know this, but we're cousins, and we think the same, similar for sure. You said teamwork makes the dream work, but he's also alluding to star power, right? I think in a final, you're looking for your big dogs to step up. Tommy Wheeldon Jr. is going to have a game plan. He's had this game plan already for a week. Bobby Smirnionis has had a trick up his sleeve 2 weeks ago for this game on Saturday. But there will be a time for both of these teams where the plan does not work, where the game seems to be slipping away from them or the momentum's to the other team. And you're going to look to your Becker, your Traffords, your Klumps, whoever it might be. The players on the pitch, Tristan Henry maybe come up big for a save, or Carducci handling a moment. This match is really about heavyweights. I haven't really seen a final where you're looking at two teams that are just so strong, both powerhouses, right? However you want to look at it, like Holyfield, Tyson, this is Magic, like what Bird, whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to compare it to, this is what this match is. So I think in those moments, the stars need to come out and show what they're made of. And I'm just excited because I know this will not be a dud final. There's no way it can be, because the amount of bad blood that is in between these two teams and this opportune time, 5 years to win the North Star Cup, it's gonna be sensational.
Ollie?
I think every year going into the playoff matchups in the past between these two sides, I've always felt that Forge has been ahead. Forge has been a little bit better, just had something a little bit extra that Cavalry hasn't. This year, I think the tables have turned. I think Cavalry are the better team, and they have been obviously over 28 games by quite significant margin. But finals aren't really about that. You know, they're not about being the better team over a long period of time. They're about managing the game, capitalizing on moments, being better in both boxes. And that, I think, is the task for this Cavalry team. I think they've got quality all over the pitch. I think they're a really, really well-oiled unit. but can they manage those moments in a better way than Forge, which has been a really, really difficult task for any team in these playoff matches in the history of the Canadian Premier League. So the guys are right. It's going to be up to the big name players, Musi, Camargo, Bevan, and even defensively as well. When you come under a bit of pressure in the game, which you will at Tim Hortons Fields, can you recognize that, manage that, and see it out and kind of reestablish your footing? So I think it's about that as much as anything. And Cavalry's got to show they're capable of doing that against the team that's done it best over 5 seasons.
That's why I feel like, and I even said this the other day on One Nation, Jordan, like almost like flip a coin, at least for me, because I feel like both these teams are so strong and you can make a case for both these teams. I mean, they're in the final. Obviously, you can make a case for both of them. But yes, Cavalry is so strong. Forge, even though we say they've done it before, they still have that pedigree, a lot of the same players. In fact, Alessandro Hojabrapor and Taryn Campbell are looking to become the first players to win 3 straight titles because they were with Pacific in 2021. I mean, they're even the players they brought in with Forge have a ton of experience. Way to ruin my moment, Wheels. I'm like, just, wax and poetic here on players and teams. And like, are you trying to watch a show? I'm sorry, did I bore you? Is everything okay?
I lost my background. I don't know what happened here. I just had a technical glitch.
There it is.
Just be careful when you start fiddling with your TV. We don't need any images, Pop. We don't need you getting into your personal photos that are connected.
We'd all be blessed if the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City popped up on the screen. Those women are something else. That's my jam.
I can't even believe this is how stereotypes, throw them out the window. I don't watch those shows. Wheels does. It's Wheels, not me, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, we've kind of alluded to it already. A ton of history between Forge and Cavalry, and we're all settled now. And Forge, we know they have the 3 titles. But the thing is they've knocked Cavalry out twice. And we also know the history between these two in the Canadian Championship. And it also blows my mind. I mean, I knew Cavalry struggled in the playoffs, but it never really hit home until I heard that they won their first ever playoff game when they beat Pacific. It was like, oh, okay, wow. Now, does any of this history matter? We always love to have this conversation heading into the playoffs because this is how we make our educated guesses. This is how we give our educated opinions on stuff, is you look at the facts from the past. But Wheels, does any of that matter in a winner-take-all game?
I think it actually does. Tommy Wheeldon Jr. even spoke about burying ghosts, even though that is absolutely impossible to do. But it's one of those things that you're always going to be questioned until you do it. This is a conversation. This is a talking point heading into this game. Can Cavalry right the wrongs? And it's not just that they lost before and haven't beat Forge in playoff football before. It's how. This one right here in the first leg in 2019 was the ball in or out, with Chris Nanko along the touchline. Here, just moments before this, I mean, through Malonga, Cavalry thought they were going to get a last-minute penalty and go on and be able to equalize. In last year's in playoffs, controversially so, Kyle Becker sent off, and then David Norman Jr. kind of like the equalizer there. So it's not just that they lost. I think it's how they've lost and how these games that have played out that still loom large and leave a scar. And there's no way of getting rid of that whatsoever. And on the flip side, there still is the history in this league. Home teams, for whatever reason, when the final comes around, just haven't been able to pull it off. So Forge is fighting it a little bit as well. We have not seen a home side be able to celebrate a title win in front of their home fans by winning a cup final. So that hangs over Forge's head as well. The pressure's on them to make sure that Saturday night is a party night in Hamilton as well. So I think it goes both ways, and it remains the case until it isn't, and it still is. So it's going to play a role.
Jardo, how are you feeling about their history?
Oh, it matters. It absolutely matters. Wheels hit the nail on the head. I think also too with this is with most of the players, I think when I'm thinking back to playing in big games, it creeps in sometimes and then you focus on what you need the task at hand, right? Playing that game. But there might be moments on Saturday where whether Forge or Cavalry, when you're feeling a bit of that pressure and those thoughts creep into your mind, like a home team has never won at home, or we've never beaten Forge. Like it could come in. I think it's so important that players just eradicate that feeling because it is looming. People are talking about it. Media is talking about it. We're going to see the players later on tonight. It will come up. All these little things, that the nuances that they need to overcome to win and play on the game. But as I said, these are two teams, two powerhouses within the league that I think this season is probably the season where you haven't seen as much bad blood, but it's still there. Like usually when Calgary and Forge play each other, it's just like you feel like someone has like a knife in their shin guard. Like they just hate. There's a bit more bad blood than normal, and I think it's a bit too violent for you, Charles.
I was gonna say,
that's usually how it is. Yeah, but this is a final now, and I think this is also a turning point. Whoever wins could really say that they're the big dog, the big boy. If Calgary go and they win the double, it's theirs now. In terms of if you're looking at a team in the Canadian Premier League, it'll be Calgary. But if Forge get Calgary's number, they can literally walk around, and I know that they will, saying that you guys can't beat us when it matters. That will be the story. So history plays into this match significantly.
Remind everyone, do not play beer league soccer against Jordan. Apparently, he will take it.
No knives. No knife. I just sharpen my six studs. I make them nice and fine.
Is that what you do? Oh
Yeah.
man,
Stick them
that's
in.
just vicious. I'll whip out a wooden spoon or something. That's just what I'll end up
We
doing.
know that you have weapons on deck, Chills. You got
No.
all of them.
The sport is supposed to bring us together, and it is loving and it is nice. Unless you're Forge and Cavalry on the pitch, take this one home, Ollie.
I don't think it does matter as much, to be honest with you, or at least it matters as much as you make it matter, right? Like you can use it as motivation and turn it into a good thing. You can use it as a burden. But like, to be honest with you, this Cavalry team has changed a lot over the years. There's a few guys that are still there from the early days. And I think 2019 against Forge and 2021 against Pacific are the two that will really sting for Cavalry in the past. But the squad has changed quite a lot since then. And I know they lost last year to Forge as well, but that was a team that, you know, Tommy's kind of said it, and I think they'll feel like they weren't really there last year. They just weren't quite at that stage where they were ready to win a championship. Now they've got another year under their belt. They've added to the squads in meaningful ways. Players within the team have grown. This is a different side now. So I don't think it's a massive factor unless Cavalry, for some reason, which would be a very bad idea, make it into a big factor.
I alluded to it off the top of the show, and I'll come to you, Jordan, as well, just even as a former player who played in all of these stadiums. They announced that the CPL has seen its biggest growth, 19% growth in a cumulative attendance as well, with the exception of Vancouver, because they're a franchise or an expansion side, I should say, excuse me. All the other teams experience growth in attendance as well. So as someone who has seen that firsthand, what does that mean to you to see this league growing as far as fans coming to games and watching games? And also, what kind of atmosphere do you think that will mean on Saturday at Tim Hortons Field?
It means everything, Andy. I'm sure the gentleman and yourself can attribute, like, this league we say should have. Obviously, there's so many things, infrastructure that should be in place or wasn't in place, but this league should have been in place many years ago, just because there's so much talent in this beautiful country that we call Canada. Now that we have it, you need fans. I remember my last few matches, or in the beginning of COVID, when I was playing in Denmark, and the ball went out and there weren't fans allowed in the stadium, and you could hear the ball echo. No one chanting, nothing. I said, wow, this game is actually atrocious without having people cheering or being around you or having fans. And that's how you build it, right? The support, people supporting clubs, people coming into stadiums. This is what we want in Canada. This is what we need. Also, too, I think what the Canadian Premier League, their advantage that they have over the MLS or other leagues is that you can get these kids in and you can interact. And I remember even playing at York, you don't really have it so much in the MLS where kids can maybe come like so close to you and interact, because you're not A-list celebrity. You're a bit further down the list, but you can really be in the community.
A+ list.
I think it's so important for the CPL growing, and you think about the next 5 years, about that community base, about going in and talking to kids and connecting with fans. And that's what is so special about this league. And I think having a final, a spectacle where you can play great football, and you're going to have north of 10, 12, 15,000, hopefully. It's beautiful. It's where we need to go. And it's just nice. It's so nice to see, because I think this game we all appreciate, but it's nothing without the fans.
Mm-hmm. How do you, what was your reaction as well to that, Wheels?
I just hope there's a big crowd. Last year, Ottawa set the bar incredibly high for what it means to host a final and what that looks like. I think the new format with the 2-week buildup, knowing where the host city is, allows for some of those marketing plans to be pushed and the call to action for people to come out. And let's hope people travel in as well, because this is really a celebration of this league, of Canadian soccer, and the accomplishments that everyone across, everyone involved in the Canadian Premier League, Canadian soccer, all the work that they put in. So if this final starts becoming more of a festival-like atmosphere, I think that is kind of the direction that I think would benefit all if we move in that direction. But will it have an impact? Yeah, I think the players are going to be ready to run through a wall if there's a big crowd. They'll be up for that. This is what the players want. This is what they desire. So let's hope that it's a big crowd there on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a special night in Ottawa last year, and it sounds like it's going to be another one. It's over 10,000 tickets sold as of yesterday. I think they're going to surpass their tickets sold record, which was the Canadian Championship final against TFC, I believe. And it looks like they'll try and aim to beat Ottawa last year, which was just shy of 15,000. So if they can do that, then we should be in for a great night, and certainly helpful for Forge to have that kind of home advantage behind them, and also the motivation, right, of wanting to be that first team to lift the trophy in front of their own fans.
And the CPL word starts to get out. You start to figure it out. It's only 5 years in existence. And of course, we know the 1 year, the Island Games with COVID. So that's kind of a wash. But people are starting to clue in that it's more of a championship weekend. We've been saying it here. We're really excited because it all starts with the CPL awards. Then the next day, I mean, more for the fans than anything. Obviously, the supporters, they have their pub night. We're going to be there. We're going to have some fun. It's more like a meet and greet. And then Saturday, they're going to have this massive fan fest. There's going to be bands that are going to be performing as well. There's going to be other activities. To your point, it's this festival kind of feel. And I think people are starting to clue in that it really is about 2 or 3 days of a ton of fun when, leading into that final. So it really is something that is, it's a destination. It's something that you want to be a part of. It's not just kind of a one and done final. There's a lot of activity that happens around it. So I'm expecting fun times in Hamilton. I'm curious, though, if you're another player. That's me going, fun time, yay. I've asked, and I always find this kind of interesting because when I've interviewed athletes in the past, and I don't know which one you are, Jordan, but whenever you get knocked out of the playoffs, I'm always curious. I'm like, do you just pack it up? Like, if you don't make the playoffs, you get knocked out of the playoffs, you just pack it up, go on vacation. You're like, I don't even want to know what's going on. You're so upset you can't even watch. Or are you one of those that you just you glue yourself to the TV because you just want to see what's happening right until the very end? I want to know which one you were, Jordo. And I'm also curious if you've kind of gotten any kind of temperature from any other players around the league, if they have a team they're cheering for between Cavalry and Forge.
So I was the one glued to everything that happened. I've said it before on OST. I've admitted to you guys that I'm a bit of an addict when it comes to football. Like I can't stay away. So even when I was playing or we lost, and it happened right with York the 2 seasons I was there when we lost to Forge, I was still watching everything that happened, Pacific and Calgary match, and then obviously the final. I was with all you beautiful people. But yeah, I was definitely tuning in. I think most players are, the majority. Yeah, some people can disassociate and go away, but you want to see how this plays out. And I know for a fact there's so many players that will be in the stadium or at Tim Hortons Field on Saturday. I think across the league, at least the feeling I get, granted, I haven't spoken to every single player, but I don't think anyone wants Forge to win again. I think they want a new script. I think they want a new story, a new winner. Now, this is just so
Wheels was
crazy.
So upset by that. He just
I know
he
he's
left.
You know what it is? He's getting his notes ready because I know he disagrees with me. But he if you're looking at Forge, 5 finals, 5 for 5. They walk around and they could just go and give you the 5 for 5 like this, that signal in your face. And you know what it means and it burns, right? And then it makes it that much more of an argument because this season they didn't play their best football, finished in second, still hosting the finals and saying, yeah, we're about to win a North Star Cup. And they were basically in, Ollie, correct me if I'm wrong, but second, maybe third gear all season. When you're driving stick and you're changing, they weren't even in 4th or 5th. They were 2nd or 3rd at most. But if Calvi go on and win the double, as I said, it has shifted. They are the new king on the hill. They are the big dogs. But I think majority across the board want Calvi to win. I don't think people want Forge winning 4 out of 5. That's dynasty talk. Like that's excessive to me.
It is. I think we're just a few days out from Halloween, so I don't know what's up with your TV. I don't know what's up with the signal over there, Wheels. I hope there's no
Technical
poltergeist in that house.
I can report that looks like the problems have been fixed. When you unplug something and plug it back in, that's the way you fix things.
Nice.
And that's what we just did. It was seriously cutting out every 2 seconds. It was driving me mad. So,
Okay.
but I did just jump in right at the right point. When 1 year I played for the top ranked university team in the country, we got upset. We lost in pens to U of T in the first round of the playoffs, and the national championship was being, we got away. We left the country. I couldn't watch. Like, once my team, who was a prohibitive favorite, got knocked out, I did not want to watch. And I'm going to take a different side of the coin here. If I'm anyone else in the Canadian Premier League, I want Forge to win again, because that way you can say, you know what? Forge is just being that good. No one can touch them. Everyone needs to do better, and we should be the team that does better. The fact that if Cavalry steps up and goes on to win this, I'm like, man, that should have been us. Like, it's easy to have like the front runner, but when other people start joining that party and you're left behind, that sucks. That really sucks. You don't want someone else to take your shine, and that's what it seems like Cavalry would be doing. I think they could stomach Forge. I don't know if I'm elsewhere, if I'm in Winnipeg or if I'm on Vancouver Island or in Halifax. I don't know if I can stomach Cavalry going on to win it, quite frankly.
But doesn't it give you hope? You're like, yes, Forge can be
No.
defeated. Pacific did
No.
that. No? Okay. Wow. Okay,
To add
Ollie.
to it, like the accomplishment of winning the double, that'll be the first time that's done, right? And that's off the table for every other club if Cavalry goes and does it and becomes the first team to do that. So I can kind of see both sides. I think there'll be a lot of neutrals who will look at like the job Tommy Wooden Jr. has done over several years now and say, like, you know, they'll feel good about him potentially getting that first title. So I imagine more neutrals than not are supporting Cavalry. But yeah, from a competitive point of view, you want to be the ones to get to the top of the mountain. I get Wills's point.
Do you know who else is supporting Forge in this one? Bar owners. Like, bar owners in the city of Hamilton want their places packed with people buying drinks and celebrating a Forge victory post-match. They want a home victory. And I think like the scenes and the television people like that produce these games or direct these games, it looks so much better when the home team wins and the away team wins on an away venue.